Grace to and peace from God our Creator and Christ our Redeemer. When you're young, some things seem to stretch on forever. The last hour of the school day before the bell rings. The wait for the sun to rise on Christmas morning. Or the length of a summer day. But for me, it was riding in a car, whether my parents were out running errands or we were on a road trip from Virginia to Michigan to visit my grandparents. In the days before cell phones and tablets to distract and entertain, there were afternoons where I spent an entire lifetime in the car. To pass the time, I would look out the window and daydream or get lost in thought. And one of the things I would find myself coming back to from time to time was trying to wrap my head around the concept of infinity. I would sit in the back seat of the family minivan trying to imagine the infinite. But of course I couldn't. I was only 8. While now I am more likely to feel like I don't have enough time rather than too much, and things that once seemed far too long now strike me as not long enough, I have maintained at least a passing curiosity regarding the infinite. Because dealing with infinities is quite counterintuitive. For example, most infinities are equal, even when they seem that they shouldn't be. An illustration. Imagine, if you will, an infinite population of people. Now take the subset of that infinite population. Say the percent who go to church. You might think that the subset of churchgoers would be smaller than the infinite population of people, but they are equal. Now take another subset of those infinite number of churchgoers, this time containing only those people who go to church to hear the preacher talk about maths. You might reasonably assume that this would be a pretty select group of people. But once again, they are equal in size. It is provable for every person who goes to church. There's a direct one-to-one correlation with a person who goes to church to hear about math, which is why this illustration works so well. There is, of course, an exception to this, a really big one, an infinity that is so infinitely large, that much larger than all the others we have talked about. I won't go into it, don't worry. But if you've ever experienced a sermon that was only 10 minutes long yet seemed to last forever, you have glimpsed it. So now that I have sated your collective rabid desire for math content, I'll tell you why this is important. When we hear the parable of the talents, we often get caught up in trying to make sense of why some of the servants get more than the others. But that is a red herring, a misdirection of our attention. A talent was a vast quantity of money. Trying to focus on who got more is a bit like counting infinities, because at the end of the day, they are all enormous amounts of money. The master has bestowed a vast abundance on each and every one of the 3 servants. This is important for us to remember because this parable is not about stewardship. It is an understandable association for us to make, given that we often hear it around the same time that churches are typically running annual stewardship campaigns, and there are rich metaphors to be found. We're also quick to latch on to those investment outcomes, but doubling an infinity is still an infinity. Jesus is not speaking about fundraising or budgets. We encounter this parable in the middle of his foretelling of the second coming as the crucifixion looms large ahead of him. No, it's not a parable about money. It is a parable about the second coming, the eschaton, the fulfillment of creation. It is a parable about how we are to live between our present age and the completion of God's creation. In the face of the great abundance Christ has bestowed upon us, will we live in timidity and fear? Standing before the abundant salvation we have received, are we afraid that there won't be enough? Do we exclude others from sharing in it? Because we have. At various points in our history, even to this day, the church or groups within the church have excluded people for their sexuality, for their gender identity, for being women, for being people of color, for being indigenous. And before the forgiveness we have received, are we afraid that it will run out? Because we seem quite quick to identify those who are beyond forgiveness. Surely not, you might say. Yet if you watch the news or listen to public discourse, you will be confronted with this very mindset. We as a society are quick to identify criminals who we should lock up and throw away the key, of drug users we should simply let die of overdoses, of political opponents who are irredeemable in their viewpoints and evil in their beliefs. As a people, we are quick to anger and slow to forgive, and the grace we offer is meager and paltry. And before the abundant good news we have found, do we tell ourselves that it isn't really that vast or that good or that abundant? Because we are so afraid to tell others about what we have found, what we have experienced, what we have come to know in Christ. It is as if it were not something of infinite value. And so the good news, is silenced in our tongues and in our hearts. In the fullness of time, in the completion of creation, will we have squandered and hidden and otherwise made what is vast and infinite into something that is small and kept only for ourselves? Or will we be like the other servants? In the face of the great abundance that God has bestowed upon us, will we choose instead to live in trust? In the grace we have received, can we trust in God enough to offer that same grace abundantly to others? Will we make room at the table for the immigrant and stranger, the homeless and the sick, the outcast, and even the mathematician, knowing that with God, there is always more? In the forgiveness we have received, do we offer forgiveness to those the world tells us are unforgivable? Do we offer forgiveness to those we do not want to forgive? And in the good news we have found in Christ, do we share it and offer it to everyone we meet? Do we offer it especially to those who hunger and thirst for the good news, knowing that it only gets better the more it is shared? Christ is calling us, my friends. There is still a vision for creation. It will be fulfilled, even if it seems to tarry. As we live in this time between now and then, do not be afraid. Live in trust of God's vast abundance. And standing before the infinite, do not shrink down, lest you become nothingness and emptiness. Reach instead and stretch to the divine, and find that you grow into the vastness of God.